Hi, sir. We are live on YouTube now.
Hello, Prasad ji.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Good to have you. First of all, thanks for taking time out from your busy schedule. I know run up to that is always going to be challenging. So I know you're very busy. So thanks for taking out time for all our students and doing this again. We had done it last year as well. So happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure always to come to your platform and help students in understanding what we are doing in that so that they can prepare well for the test.
So, sir, let's start first of all with XAT as a test, right? So, of course, it has evolved a lot over all the years. At a point of time, from a paper pencil version, then became online and all of that. So, and again, you have been the convener for the last couple of years. So, what changes have you made in the format of the test to make it easier for the students or more of a student-friendly test?
So, idea was when I joined the office at that time, the perception among the candidates who would appear for such tests was that in regard to XAT especially, that XAT is an ambiguous exam, right? There was a lot of ambiguity around the kind of questions that would be asked, the kind of surprises there were in the paper. And lots of times students would never get to know what they would expect in the coming papers. So the changes which I have brought every year, and now I guess it's a standard format that in these 2 years, first thing I did was I started publishing the ZAT overview of that particular year. So we started it in ZAT 2024. We have also followed it in ZAT 2025. For ZAT 2026 also there is an overview available. So we have started telling the kind of topics we cover in our test, right? This is the first thing we did so that ambiguity gets reduced. Number two, when it comes to different sections also, we tried to do the analysis to understand what kind of questions are attempted and what kind of questions are not attempted by students mostly. Based on that, we started changing the nature of our questions so that every question should get attempted. If students know a particular topic, they should be able to attempt that particular question which belongs to that particular subtopic or topic. So I guess we worked on ambiguity by doing the difficulty analysis. We try to publish overview every year. At the same time, we I have started bringing people. I have started bringing the previous conveners to that platform, or we started publishing also in newspapers about what we are expecting and what kind of questions we normally ask. So I guess we tried to plug the gap which was there between what students knew and what we were doing, and because of that I guess now there is a clarity among candidates on what that is, what kind of questions are asked, and in fact our format is also more or less stable now. We don't change much, things are almost on the same lines. I guess that's what we have tried to do.
Okay. And sir, I think giving practice papers to students is again a welcome step, something that XAT has done. So a lot of students reach out to us and they ask the practice papers which are there in the dashboard. If I do that, is it going to be the level of XAT? So if do you want to comment on the actual XAT difficulty versus the practice papers?
So normally in our practice papers, we call them mock tests. We keep questions from our previous year's question papers, to be honest, right? We don't want to add new questions so that students should not get misguided, right? So what is the purpose behind using the platform or giving these tests? The purpose was that we want students to have a real test experience, right? In fact, currently also our mock platform is open, so those are registered, they can have access to. The logic is simple that when you are going for tests, you should not get surprised by the technology or the way you have to take the test, because the test is conducted on a particular day, right? And if you keep dabbling with the format, the platform, the technology, then of course it may impact your performance. So keeping that in mind, we try to provide as many mocks as we could so that students are familiar, and the day they come for exam or test, they should be very confident about what is about the format and what is about the technology more. And on the top of it, of course they are preparing, so, or they have already prepared, they would take care of the content part as well. So yes, mocks help, and I'm sure that this year also students who have already taken mocks would be doing well in our main test as well on January 4th.
And sir, regarding registrations for XAT, so of course, last year there was an increase. The year prior also there was a huge increase. So when the CAT registration went up by about 30%, even XAT registration I think went up by 40% that year. So do you see the registrations to go up this year as well? Of course, the registration window is still open. But have you already seen the number to be higher compared to last year, or where do we stand with respect to competition?
So I guess numbers are more or less same. They have not changed much. I got to know that in other tests numbers have come down, right? But I guess for that numbers are more or less same. And I would say it is not because we are pushing for numbers. It's because for a simple reason, our exam is more relatable and doable. So students are developing confidence in the exact, and we also give access to 250 plus schools. If they take this test, they can apply to 250 plus schools. It's an AICT approved exam. So I guess that's the reason that numbers are staying intact, and I guess they will stay intact so far students have a kind of faith they are showing in the past if they are keeping the same faith in that.
So because what happened this year was with CAT registration numbers going down, and of course the takers also going down from like 2.93 lakh last year to 2.58 this year. A lot of students reached out to us and asked whether that numbers are going down, or is the competition going to increase this year. In fact, that is what they were asking.
So I would say that they are not dramatically increasing. Of course, there was a huge rise for a few years, I guess. But whenever there is a rise, there is always a correction also, I guess, right? So maybe this is a correction phase for all the tests.
Okay. Okay. Sir, regarding the test format, so any particular reason why the GK is still there as part of the test? Because XLR, of course, does not use it at the time of, I mean, for the percentile calculation, it is not used. So why is that as a section still there on the test?
So it is not used for percentile. Of course, it is there, but we are aware that we are going to use that score later when students get shortlisted and interviewed for XLRI Jamshedpur and XLRI Delhi NCR. It is not used by other associate B schools. It is exclusively used by XLRI Jamshedpur and XLRI Delhi NCR campuses. So it is not a part of the percentile as such, but once interviews get over, all the scores are collated and merit list is created. This score is added towards the end, so those who do well here may climb up the ladder of merit, and some may come down because of the low scores. I would say that don't ignore it, but one also has to be watchful and mindful that we are not testing general knowledge as such. We are testing general awareness. If you have kept your ears and eyes open for last 6 to 8 months, right? You know that you can easily crack it. And there are lots of students today. Also, I was talking to a few who came to meet me, and I asked, "How did you prepare for general knowledge?" They said, "Sir, just." We were keeping our eyes and ears open across the 6 months, 7 months, or 8 months, and we could manage. And one guy said that, in fact, by the process of elimination, also I could arrive at the right answer. I guess that also should be kept in mind, and it is there because we want leaders not only to be good at what they are good at, they should also be socially aware, culturally aware, politically aware of what is happening around them, so that tomorrow they not only contribute to their businesses, they should also contribute to nation building and also globally. That's what is the expectation, because XLRI believes in making the value or the citizens of value, and also the global leaders. I guess that's the objective, and that's why general awareness is a very much part of XAT, especially for XLRI Jamshedpur.
Okay. And sir, any particular score or percentile that they should aim for in the GK section?
I guess no. It's all see, it's relative thing. There is no particular cutoff. There is no negative marking also, right? So I would say that don't get worried about GK too much. It gets used, but it's not used the way, for instance, your quantitative aptitude and data interpretation is used, or decision making is used, or verbal ability and logical reasoning is used. It's not like that. So you do well, you try to do your best, but don't get worried about the cutoffs or a particular number you have to get in general awareness or general knowledge section.
Okay. And sir, regarding again the marking scheme of that, right? A lot of students over the years have asked this question, and I'm sure you also received this question, that why is there a penalty for unattempted questions?
So I will tell you what happens when because there is a penalty for wrong questions. There is a penalty of 0.25 minus 2.25, right? Many of our students, when because you are taking exams already, you are under pressure, right? You want to perform, and the exam is conducted only on one day. So everybody is very cautious. So when there is a wrong question or they are partially aware of the way to solve it, they try to drop it over attempting it. So we also believe that if you don't know, you should not try, right? Because it unnecessarily impacts your percentile. But if you are having some understanding of it, why not to try? And that's why this 0.10 is a nudge. It's not a penalty that you try to leave as many as you can if you don't know, but don't leave to an extent that you start dropping questions up left, right, and center without realizing that even some questions can be right as well. So it's just to nudge them so that they stay active, and they should understand that dropping is good if you don't know, but it's not good if you can do and you're not trying it from a fear that it may give you a negative 0.25. So I guess this is just a nudge strategy, not more than or nothing more than that.
Okay. And sir, again, a recent thing that has happened that I'm sure you are aware of, and all the students are also very concerned about it, is how the CAT went this year, right? So, in terms of the difficulty of some of the slots, as well as some of the sections where even though time was available, it wasn't possible to solve questions. Because the sets were so difficult that you could not solve some of the sets in DLR, particularly.
Correct.
And even in quant, it was very difficult. So, what can students expect from XAT this year? So, is there a conscious effort to make it more accessible to the students or make it more difficult? Any thoughts that you had while, again, you're not setting the paper, but of course, the team of paper setters, is that what is going on in their mind when they decided to set the paper?
See, I will not defend whichever test students have taken and found that difficult, but I would say that this is my personal belief, that none of the conveners or none of the institutes who set papers, they want to make paper difficult. And this is also my philosophy. Since I have taken over this office, I have told my team that we will never try to make the paper difficult because nothing gets out of it. For instance, if there are 28 questions in XAT's quantitative and data interpretation paper, and out of which I make 10 difficult, then students will end up attempting only 18 and score is coming out of 18. So you are not judging or you are not evaluating what you should evaluate because you made those 10 questions difficult. So I don't believe in that philosophy of making questions difficult, not at all, right? Of course, questions should be there. People should use their brains to solve them. That level of competency is needed, right? We don't want such a paper that somebody who has not studied at all comes and takes the exam and gets a similar score with somebody who has worked for last 3 or 4 months really hard, or right. So that also we know, but question paper should be doable, question paper should be relatable. At the same time, it should not be difficult that even those who are prepared for like last, even if they have somebody is prepared for last 1 year, if that person is not able to do that, then I would say it's a bad paper. I'm very honest on this, and it's my personal opinion. Better is keep the question paper doable. Those who have put the minimum efforts, they should be able to solve it. That's what I believe, and I guess our team is also following the same principle. It's never our philosophy to make paper difficult. In fact, if we make paper difficult, no, we will never get to know who is a good candidate and who is a bad candidate, right? Because those questions will not be attempted by anybody. So better is keep the paper doable, keep the options also uh, not so overlapping, exclusives, though which the correct options should stand out. And I guess let students decide, because this is not just one of this is not the only way to select students. We have other processes followed by that, right? For instance, we have personal interview round, and that has, oh sorry, XLRI puts a lot of emphasis on personal interviews and group discussions, right? So I would say that that will never take that path where we would try to make the paper difficult or questions ambiguous. We have reduced the ambiguity, and till the time I'm in office, of course, I would try that there should be no ambiguity, there should be clarity, and of course, basic level intelligence which gets tested. With that intelligence, every student should manage to handle the questions.
Any particular surprises that students can expect this year?
I would say if you are getting a surprise, so first you are not getting a surprise. I have already standardized almost everything. But if you are getting a surprise, it would be a sweet surprise. Like last year, there was a cartoon. Again, this year can be a cartoon, but then a different cartoon. That kind of a surprise you can get. But I don't think that I want students to unnecessarily get troubled by some random topics or by some random questions which unnecessarily put pressure. Already students prepared so hard. Already their heart is broken. And then on the top of it, I put something which may again put them in a trouble. Why will I do it? So there's no point doing that at all. In fact, we should make the exam experience pleasant, and memorable. In fact, if you look at our previous year question paper, last year's question paper, you would see the reference from Game of Thrones, or you would see there were some things which were more relatable and contemporary, which our new generation can relate to, be it
Okay, we lost sir for a moment. We'll just wait for him to be back.
I guess for some reasons this
Yeah, yeah.
dropped.
So you're back. Yes.
Okay. So I guess we never have this intent, and we try to make the paper more accessible, more relatable, especially to our millennials, or those who are late millennials, or zillennials, or Gen Zs, right? There's an overlap also. So we try to keep the paper contemporary, we try to keep the paper relevant so that students can relate, and they should have a good experience. They should, when they come out of the examination center, they should not go with heavy hearts even if they don't perform well. They should go with this feeling that at least I have done something, or at least there was some fun, or at least there was some learning. I guess that's what SAT tries to do, and we will keep sticking to that plan this year as well.
Okay. And sir, again, this year, and it has happened with ZAT in the past, it has happened with CAT also in the past, and this year also it happened where students got centers that are really far off, and it becomes a problem because they end up traveling, say, 200, 300 kilometers the day prior. So, any particular thing that ZAT, you as a convener and the conducting body have decided to have with respect to center allocation?
That's a very good question, and I also completely empathize with those who have to travel a lot, right? See, what at exact we try to follow. This is what is getting followed in our office for a very long time. See, first is we don't, as a test authority, we don't have access to technology which is used for conducting tests. That's why we have to be reliant on a third party, and I guess other tests also are reliant on third parties, right? So a third party has its own limitations, right? They don't have access to all the cities. So what we are doing is every year we are trying to add a few more cities. That's what we have done in the past also. And as a principal, we've tried to follow a few things. Number one, if this may be some people may not appreciate it, but we definitely appreciate this kind of a call, that we try to give all the girls their first choice, because we know that most of the girls miss out their exams if their centers are moved. This is what we try to do. We also try to do with guys also. It's not that we don't try to do with guys, but we definitely try to prioritize the centers for women. We try to prioritize centers for those who are differently abled, because we know that for them also it's challenging. In fact, we have reduced the percentage of center getting changed dramatically in last few years. So this year also we'll try to reduce, and we'll try to give as many as we could the first choice, right? But I would say this is my humble submission, that sometimes you have to accept that there are limitations, because it's who is doing it. So there is a limitation to those guys also. They also have limited access to different cities and different centers. But I already had of meetings with the team which conducts these tests for us, and I've informed them that in important cities you will have to increase the number of centers, and you will have to increase the centers of terminals. We have already told them, and hopefully we will reduce this problem further this year. We tried to reduce it last year, this year again. But those two values we very strongly stick to, that women candidates and differently abled candidates, we definitely try to give them their first choice. That's what we try to follow. No offense to anybody else, but because we know that lots of dropouts happen with these two categories if centers are moved.
So we'll take a few questions from the YouTube chat section.
Yeah.
There's a student who has asked if somebody has a gap on their profile,
Mm.
let's say 3 year gap, the way student has mentioned,
Mm.
does it become a problem at XLRI to get placed?
See, I would say when you are coming for XLRI Jamshedpur or XLRI Delhi NCR admissions process, we look at you as a whole, not in bits and pieces, right? We don't look at you, for instance, for your academics. We don't look at you only for what you have done in job. It's a holistic evaluation. So I would say that it can be a concern in some areas, but it's not a major concern. Why? Because there are other dimensions as well where you can also be evaluated and you can score well. In fact, there are students on campus. They have gap years. They were in jobs. They quit their jobs. They started preparing, and they are sitting in our classes. XLRI, for that matter, doesn't try to discriminate on these lines, I would say.
Okay. And sir, regarding so somebody asked about paper pattern, but that we already discussed that there is no change this year in terms of paper pattern, so it's exactly the same. Um, somebody has asked regarding 10th standard score because it was during COVID. So
Hmm.
what to enter in the mark section? Okay, I think again all the instructions are clearly given, so please follow it. Otherwise, you can always write to that help desk. I think that should be
You
the
can
best.
call our office at any time. We have people here, especially till 7 p.m. They are sitting in office, right? Or you can drop a mail also. Of course, our team will reach out to you and help you. Don't worry.
So there's a student who is a non-engineer, and it seems he's a little worried about quant section. So he's asking for what can be done to prepare as a non-engineer.
See, I would say you should not get worried. XLRI or not, sorry, not XLRI, XAT, if I talk about XAT. XAT is from many years is trying to make question papers which are solvable or doable by both engineers and non-engineers. We try to give questions which are not mostly formula based, application based. In fact, I told it to some other people also here in my office as well that in fact from last few years non-engineers are doing equally good as engineers. So I'm sure that even if you're a non-engineer, you have equal chances as anybody who has maths background, be it engineer or commerce graduates or with somebody with maths. But I would request that you have a month's time from now. Please practice, practice, and practice. Consistency in your practice is a key to your success. And whatever your strength, definitely work on it. You have months' time. And the areas where you can do well, fairly well with some preparation, try to do it. Good thing is 70 to 80% of your preparation from other tests can easily feed into XAT. So you can translate that hard work which you have done for other tests and little bit of effort, especially in a few sections. Quant, of course, you can easily handle because it's mostly application based. There's one section which actually creates a difference is decision making. And the key to it is if you follow or solve last 10 years, last 10 years question papers, I guess you have an answer to this year's question paper as well. So consistency, practice, especially quant, try to understand what is getting asked over using a formula. And I guess solving previous year's question papers will be a key to doing well in XAT as a whole.
So in fact, a lot of students have asked about that regarding QADI because I think that seems to be the common concern. So you say if let's say they do last 3 to 4 years of QADI, is that enough for them to understand what could be the difficulty?
I would say difficulty, let's not talk about it because we don't want the paper to be difficult, right? But you can take cues on the proportion or ratio of questions that would come from each topic or subtopics.
Okay.
Yes, you can use it from that perspective, but not just 4 or 5 years. At least 10 years PYQs would be good.
Okay, I think that answers questions of a lot of students because I can see a lot of them have asked regarding QADI.
Mm.
Sir, regarding when you do for XLRI now, when you look at candidates' profile, as we discussed, there was one student with gap, but there are students who come from different backgrounds. For example, there's a student who is from BSc agriculture background. So how do you evaluate diversity?
If you come to campus, I would request Prasadji, you visit XLRI once. Huh? I would make you meet those students who have literature backgrounds, political science backgrounds, sociology backgrounds. They are sitting in our classes, and they are competing with students who are with some very sophisticated backgrounds, right? In fact, there was one student who has passed out. He did his BA in English literature and that too from distance learning. I'm not saying distance learning is good or bad, huh? There is no judgment in it. But he didn't go to college because he was busy in doing something else which he liked to do, right? And he parallelly did his graduation. He was very high on IQ, came to XLRI, joined our business management program, got placed in one of the best consulting firms currently based out of Mumbai, making very good money and contributing very meaningfully to the organization. So I would say XLRI does respect diversity and it's a campus. If you come, it's a bouquet where you will see people from different gardens sitting together in the same classroom. And that's what we stick to and we live by.
I think that answers a lot of questions because students had asked, somebody has asked from pharma background. So I think Sir's answer puts an end to it, that it doesn't matter what background you're coming from, right? As long as you show that enthusiasm, the drive, and of course the aptitude for the whole thing, it's possible for you to get into XLRI. Sir, regarding uh, any particular thing with respect to a lot of students have asked regarding this admission process bit. So if you can spend some more time talking about that. So what exactly happens once that is conducted?
Okay, so if you want to understand the processes of XLRI Jamshedpur and Delhi campus, I can talk about it. But our associate schools have different processes, of course, so you will have to go to their websites to understand, right? Because XAT caters to 250 plus B schools, right? So when you talk about XLRI, once you are shortlisted, so we call, well, like there's a particular ratio of students, or there's a particular number we call for every seat, right? So there's a good number of students who are called for the interviews, and once you go through the interview process, you also have to go through another parallel activity called group discussion. Along with that, you also have to write an essay. Earlier, essay was a part of XAT. Now we have moved it to interview and GD round for a simple reason. First is we only evaluate essays of those who appear for XLRI interviews, right? And also, when it was a part of XAT, lots of students were finding it hard because sometimes softwares were not supportive. So we thought that let's move it out from there and bring it to the interview phase and interview round. So it's there. So you will have to appear for the GD, plus you will have to write an essay on the topic of the GT. For a simple reason, you listen to everybody and then you try to develop your argument, and we try to understand how you have argued when you already know everything about that topic because it was already discussed in the group discussion. Once that is done, your interview is conducted. We create a merit list. Of course, there are some other components as well, like we know, but majorly your interview has a role to play. If you do well in the interview process, of course, you have an opportunity to come to XLRI.
So coming back to that, on the decision making section, because that is another concern that I can see from the chat. A lot of students have asked about it. Firstly, it is very unique to that. It's not seen on any other test. So how do students prepare for the decision making section, apart from, of course, the past year papers that are available to them?
I guess because they are on your platform, I'm sure you all are also extending support in handling decision making. But I would give you a few tips which are actually used for making the questions, right? And solving also. I was a part of the QP for a long time, right? Simple logic you have to follow is, one thing you have to tell yourself is there is a perfect answer for every question, but that perfect answer may not be applicable to your situation, right? Everybody wants to grow rich in life, right? We all want a big bungalow in the middle of a metro, right? But where do we live finally? We have an apartment or we have a duplex, right? Depending upon what we have done in our lives, what we have achieved in our lives. So our resources help us decide where we will be, right? So same principle you have to apply to any decision making situation. Whatever is there in the situation, you have to stick to it. Even if there's a perfect answer given, it may not be applicable to my situation, right? So think of who is the decision maker in that situation, who are the stakeholders in that situation, what resources are available in that situation, keeping in mind the decision maker, the impact of decision on stakeholders, and the kind of resources available. You try to understand what is the best choice, right? But don't go just by options thinking this is the best choice, therefore I will have to choose this. Best choice is best choice, right? But it may not be my choice because my situation is not helping me to take up that choice, right? Like for instance, if you have not taken XAT and answer is you should study at XLRI to become a business leader, and you choose this as an option because it looks nice, it is not applicable to you because you have not taken XAT. So drop that answer even if it looks perfect. I guess that's what you have to follow.
Okay. Sir, somebody has asked, when is a student XLRI ready? Of course, it's a lot of very deep question in that sense. But what are the qualities that you are looking for?
In a student who comes to XLRI, right? I don't know if you have read, I'm sure many of you know it, but those who don't know about XLRI, XLRI is the oldest B school in India. We started in 1949, much before the other B schools which are doing well in business world. We are the first school to start virtual online learning. We were the first school to start 1 year MBA. We did lots of things. We are the leaders in many areas. The only difference between us and others is that we don't want to talk about what we have done. But I don't think on those lines. I believe we should talk about this is an era of Virat Kohli, right? He does well and he plays well and he also talks about it, right? Of course, Sachin has his own value, right? He does well, but he would not talk about that much. But there are two ways to handle the same thing, right? So I would say that we should talk about it. But what I'm trying to convey here by this particular example is that XLRI strongly believes in innovation. XLRI respects novelty in thinking. XLRI respects when people have value system. In fact, if you look at the tagline of XLRI, it says for the greater good. We believe that if you are an exceller, you should always give back to the community you come from, no matter where you come from. You should have this passion. I need to contribute back to my community in some form. I guess if you try to exhibit that in your interview process, you try to show that you are open minded, you are a system to thinker, you learn to you look forward to learning, and you have that passion to keep evolving and changing, and you have fire in your belly, you are a best candidate for a school like XLRI. I guess you will have to bring this kind of an attitude in answering to those questions. But on the top of it, I would suggest that because students see it's about their career, we can talk about it sitting at XLRI. But those who prepare on the other side, they have a different mindset, the kind of hard work they put and the kind of uncertainties they carry around themselves. Of course, for them, every interview, every test is very important, right? They know that losing one test is like losing 1 year completely. So when they appear for interviews, they become desperate sometimes. I know it's very easy to advise and very difficult to follow. I would say that, again, I'm just giving you a piece of advice that when you come for such interviews, be yourself, honest about yourself. If you don't know anything, just say, I don't know, or I'm not sure about it. Right? If you want to try on it, you say, I will like to try about it, or I will try to answer it, though I don't know it. So that we are also mentally prepared that you are trying. Problem happens, but because students are so worried about their future that they even start answering those questions, they have no clue. And that's where they unnecessarily get judged. They should have been judged for the things they knew, but they get judged for those things which they didn't know. And on the top of it, they try to put efforts also, which stresses them. So I would say stay honest, be yourself. And if you don't know, you don't know. And if you know, you know. That doesn't make any difference in your evaluation. We try to understand you, what you know, how well you know.
Yeah. So coming back to the test, a lot of students have also asked regarding the verbal section because again, it has its uniqueness compared to some of the other tests that are out there.
Correct.
In the past also, we have had poems and all of that, right? So, any particular suggestions for VRC preparation?
See, I'm sure those who have already prepared for the other tests, right? They are good with VRC, right? Verbal ability and logical reasoning, of course, is almost the same across, right? The only difference I would say at XLRI or our exam, XAT's exam, is that we try to understand whether you have been able to comprehend, right? Suggestion would be that instead of going to question and then coming back to your stem, you need to understand the stem first. Once you understand the stem, you can interpret it well, you can handle any question very smartly. Right? There are no direct questions from STEM. XLRI or our team and XAMI team and those who are contributing to XAT, they always believe that whenever students are attempting our questions, they should be able to interpret the meaning. There should be no direct questions coming from the passage. So focus on interpreting the information, whether it's a poem or a passage or a cartoon or an LR situation, logical reasoning situation. You need to first understand, can I interpret the information of it? If you are good at interpretation, you can actually handle any answer. And if you believe that the options are close, since I have taken over, I have made sure that the right answer should not be close to the other options at all, right? So I guess you have to understand that outlier, the standing out option. At the same time, you need to have a clear understanding of what is there in a stem or a passage or a poem or a cartoon. So interpretive skills should be good.
Sir, how does XLRI look at the sectional performance?
So it again is relative, very difficult to comment. Each year it changes, but of course you need to be good at all the three sections, I would say, and that is why if you look at our test or the nature of our test, we give 170 minutes for first part, right? And we also give you that freedom that you can toggle. We don't say that, or we don't stop you from moving from verbal to quantitative aptitude, and then if you're in quantitative aptitude now you cannot go back to verbal. So you have to be equally good in all the sections, right? On the top of it, you need to allocate time also. When there is no time limit as such for section, sometimes you will end up pouring more time in one section and it would create a problem in the other section. So definitely you need to have some time on the back of your mind for each section. What you can do is, if you want to score well in all the three sections, better is that before the test, you decide on how much time you devote based on what you are good at and what you are not so good at, and try to be equally good and try to put same efforts in all the three sections, I would say. So at XLRI, of course, all the three sections are valued, right? And in all the three sections, we try to understand your scores in regard to others. So I cannot give you the exact figure, but yes, it's relatable and it's important. So I would say you need to have a strategy to give justice, or to do justice, or to give equal importance to all the three sections in part one.
Some of the students have asked regarding safe score for a call from XLRI, but see, XLRI publishes that information every year, so that information is
Again,
available.
it's very difficult to top on to say it out right now, because again it depends upon how well students perform. Every year it changes.
And sir, percentile cutoffs anyway are mentioned every year. So on the
Definitely,
B School Zone also, we have shared it with all the IMS students. So you can check out bschoolzone.imsindia.com, and under the cutoff section, you have information about XLRI's cutoff for BM, HRM, engineer, male, female, all of that data is given.
correct.
Uh, so any particular practice that you would recommend? Sir has already, maybe some of the students joined in a bit late, but the past papers are available. So that would be the best thing to practice, apart from the material that all of you already have.
I will. Can I
Yes,
say one quick tip to everybody? Yeah?
yes.
So that is conducted in the second shift from 2 to 5 p.m., right? Some people are, the early risers, right? They get up early, they prepare well in the morning, right? Their brain works really well in the morning. Their circadian rhythm is like that. And some people become active post lunch, right? But for this test, both the guys will have to be active post lunch. So I would suggest everybody that you all need to, all of you need to start preparing or solving mocks definitely between 2 and 5 p.m. when we would be conducting our test. So that when you appear on the day of test, your brain is already ready, right? I'm sure if you've heard of this author called Rhonda Burns, this book says that, this book called Secret, in that the core philosophy is that if you do something for 21 days, it becomes your habit. So at least for next 21 days, try to solve your questions between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. especially, right? So that on the day of the test, you don't feel clouded, or your brain, you don't have uh, you don't feel that ideas are not generating, brain is not so active, and you are in your flow. So just keep practicing between 2 and 5, at least 20 to 30 days before the test, I guess, between 2 and 5.
Okay. Sir, we're almost towards the end. Some of you have asked questions that we have already discussed, so we'll not be taking these questions again. For example, a lot of you have asked about practice sources. As sir mentioned, you have the past year papers that are available on the XAT website. In your XAT candidate login as well, the practice tests are available. So please go through that, and of course the IMS material that all of you have, you can go through it. And with respect to profile, also a lot of students asked. As sir mentioned, that they evaluate individual profiles and they will look at the holistic overall profile that you bring to the table. So even if you have a gap year, if there are any other significant things that you have done, they will always evaluate that, no matter what background you're coming from. So to close the session, I have one last question. And the registration is still open, right?
Correct.
So, and a lot of students have recently applied for CAT. Some of them might be even demotivated. Some of them might think whether should I take that, should I not take that. So, what would be your advice to somebody who might be feeling demotivated at this point of time? and how they should look at the bigger picture?
See, first, a quick suggestion would be that let's assume that you have not been able to do well in CAT, but that's not the end of the world, right? You have other options as well. I'm not saying that you just have to take another test and you become happy. You have still lots of backups, right? You can still continue if you are in a CATS, you can still continue in your college, right? If you're in job, you can continue with your job, right? If you have taken a break here, you can still start a job. If you are that sad, I would say don't get sad. But on the top of it, I would always suggest that if you are prepared very hard for instance, the previous test which you took on 30th of November, don't let that effort get wasted. If your wallet allows, if you have money in your pocket, then you can take that as well if you are interested, right? Why? Because keeping all your choices only in one basket would not be a good idea. It's not always a good idea, right? If you have mentors in place, if you have created an ecosystem which is supporting you, why not to give another try, right? Sometimes it's not your day. Sometimes, of course, paper is not up to your expectations, right? So have some backup plans so that you can do well. Otherwise, if you don't have a backup plan, if not prepared well, you can always think of opting out from this process of taking tests. But if you are prepared well, this preparation of, for instance, the previous test can easily feed into the coming test. So bring that in, right? There are lots of mentors around. You can still prepare and you can do well. In fact, I'm currently teaching in second term at XLRI in our PGDM HRM program. And I was talking to my students, and many of them said that, sir, last year after exit, after the CAT test, right? In fact, last year's paper they were saying was easy. Many of them thought that they would not be able to get admission. So they had this ZAT on the back of their backup plans, or on the it was with them. So they said that we just took it thinking that let us try this one, and they tried, and they are sitting in our classes. So you never know what is waiting for you. Don't give up on your hopes. Don't get sad. Of course, no, you cannot control everything. You can control whatever you can control. So focus on controllables. But of course, these tests, to be honest, this is my personal opinion again, they are not the complete measure of who you are. You guys are more than what we test, right? We test only a part of your intelligence, right? Right, lots of people never take such tests or never go to B schools also do well, right? So I'm not saying that it's something which is we are testing you on something which you are, right? But of course, if you're prepared for such kind of aptitude tests, you should not get that particular preparation wasted, right? Use it and give it a try again to other tests. You never know if that is your day and that would take you to a better place, right? If your wallet allows and if you believe that you have time and energy to invest, definitely you should do.
Yeah, that's a pretty sound advice, sir, because this is just the beginning of the season. So one test does not really decide anything. You have rest of the season ahead. So I
Correct.
hope all the aspirants will give their best on the ZAT. And sir, thank you so much for taking out time once again. Really appreciate you doing this for our students.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Always pleasure talking to you. And all the best to all the candidates who are watching. There is always a light on the other side of the tunnel. So best wishes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.